Howdy y'all. Welcome back to Field Diaries. Today we are going to be drinking some coffee and we're going to use a brand new coffee maker that I got from a website called Bespoke Post. I've already used it a few times. I've dialed in some settings and I'm going to show you how to make a really excellent cup of coffee with this coffee maker. This is the Nest pour over kit by a company called VSSL. It comes in this really nice cardboard packaging. Kind of feels somewhat premium. This is what the front of the box looks like. The back of it here with some of the instructions on how to disassemble and put the kit together. The first thing in the box is this large magazine. Inside of it is kind of a note from the founder of the company talking about their products. 10 to 15 pages of just beautiful imagery. All of these images are from the VSSL. These are VSSL original images. It's really neat. It kind of gives you the overall vibe of the company and the product. This is my vibe. This is what I enjoy when I see these images. This is like, I want to climb that mountain. Now, this pour over kit comes with the grinder, which we'll take a look at here in a second. And then it comes with two different manuals, one for the grinder and then one for the pour over kit. It just tells you how to make a really good cup of coffee and the settings. It tells you how to clean it, how to store it. It also gives you ratios for how to dial in the grinder setting and the water ratios. But you don't need to read this because I'm going to show you how to do it, and you just need to follow this video. There is this nice felt pouch, which I'm pretty confident is for the grinder, and here is the Java grinder by VSSL right here. I've already put it to use several times. It just slips into that pouch just like so. Comes with it naturally in case you've got a different setup, but this kit, you can actually put the grinder inside of this, and I'll show you how to do that. This is one of those boxes I'm probably gonna have. You know, you keep like your MacBook box for years. Here is the kit. This is the top. You're going to have two of these cups. So we've got one here and then one on the bottom. Gosh, that was loud. Then we have this part, this middle container. I've got my brush in there. This is kind of what your grinder is going to sit inside of, just like that. You can put your grinder in there, you can put beans in there, and then you can see we're gonna put that back on the top, just like so. Just to give you an idea as how this thing goes back together. There you go. Now everything is in place, except for the brush. And then this other middle section has our lid for one of the cups. So there is your lid. And then this is going to be our pour over system right here. And we're actually missing something. The filter and the drip system. So that would just slide in nice and snug inside of the drip system. And then essentially you just put it on either one of these cups and it drips into the cup. So let's make a cup of coffee. Now I've already got my settings dialed in and I'm going to show you how to do it. It's very simple. I have measured and I have learned that these cups in particular, if you want to keep everything minimal and together, they can only hold with the lid on about 300 grams of water. Now, based on the settings of the grinder and the ratio that I like, which is just a typical pour over coffee, like a 1 to 15 or a 1 to 16 ratio, and that is in the manual, some of their recommended settings. All I need is about 20 grams of coffee. So let's go ahead and heat up a little bit of water. This is the only drawback is, you know, I can't go for a hike and carry a massive kettle like this. Oh, it goes on there. If we're tent camping, I'm not bringing this. If we go rooftop tent camping, we could probably swing this. And we've got our EcoFlow up here to be able to charge it. Now I'm gonna set my temperature down to about 209 degrees Fahrenheit. And that should be right there at a boil, and that will be a really good temperature for this cup of coffee. Again, we don't need this. We don't need this scale. I've already measured everything. I brought it to show you that I don't need it and to toss it aside. All right, so let's get some coffee ground up. Now, the wheel that turns the grinder, the contraption that turns it, it just slides in and screws to this bolt here so that it is stored away, and then you unscrew it and it pops right off. And then there is our handle to be able to turn the wheel, okay? Now to get the beans in, there's a button right here at the top, and you're just gonna press that button and it's gonna pop off just like so. And then this is where all of the beans go. There's a word for that, and it escapes me at the moment. Okay, I went and looked it up because it was getting on my nerves. So we're just gonna call it the grinder, and this is the bean hopper. This is where the beans go to be ground. What you do to adjust the grind setting is you would put this back on. This cone-shaped piece unscrews. You would turn it one way for a more coarse ground, or one way for a more fine ground, and it kind of just depends on type of coffee that you're making. The grinder comes at a default, and the instruction manual tells you that. And so what you'll do is you'll turn it a specific number of clicks. It tells you in the manual how many clicks you need to turn it to get to where you want it, and then it has those listed out. Here is how we're gonna make this, and you can follow this, write it down. I'm gonna fill this container with the beans. About that right there, maybe a few less, just right under the top of it. And so it would kind of look like that. This right here is approximately 20 grams of coffee, give or take. Now that we've got our beans in the little cup there, we're gonna pop this wheel off and put it into our bean hopper. And then we'll pop this back on. Don't forget to put this piece back. We're just gonna start grinding. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, welcome, thanks for joining us. I like to make content, videos, just like this. Stuff that guys would like, whether it's tools, outdoor products, camping gear, coffee, fashion, just all sorts of things. And you can hear there, all of those beans are ground up. Now, so I'm gonna pick one of these cups, and I'm gonna use this one right here with the logo. I'm just gonna set it just slightly on top and just turn it a little bit. Now what we gotta do is unscrew the bottom. Be careful, it will make a little bit of a mess. There's all of our coffee. How much water do we put in here? How do we get that 1:15 ratio with 20 grams of coffee? Well, we need 300 grams of water. Here's the trick, here's the hack. Where the thread marks are for the lid, that's about the max amount of water or coffee that you're gonna wanna put in this thing before it starts to seep up into the lid and then fill the top of the lid and spill everywhere. So we're gonna take our pour over part, set it over the top. I don't wanna just set it there. I do actually want to screw it in just a little bit, but here in a few pours, I'm gonna take it off and monitor and see how much water we've got in there. Start pouring. Like any typical pour over, we are just going to get a good coverage over all of the grounds and let that set for 20 to 30 seconds. And I think we're ready to go ahead and pour a little bit more in here. So we're gonna fill this up pretty close to the top of our filter. Kind of turn it a little bit to get all that coffee completely immersed. All right, I'm gonna pop off the pour over here and kind of see where we're at. We're about halfway, so we could probably do about the same amount of water that we just did plus a little bit more. So that right there, once that drains, I think we're gonna be pretty close to the top here. This kit also comes with a little brush here that you can use to clean different things, probably more specifically the grinder here and the bean hopper on the inside, and clean all of those items. Everything else you can just wash out. I don't think that you can wash this. I haven't done that yet, and I'm not going to. Everything else, wash by hand. Do not put any of this stuff in the dishwasher. Okay, let's check it here. All right, that is pretty good. I'm going to pour just a skosh more. Okay, we are pretty much full for that container. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna set that aside. And there we have it, folks. A nice cup of pour over coffee. It smells amazing. Tastes amazing. And we'll see if the lid will fit. And it's pretty much right there at the top where those threaded parts are. And there we have it. I can see the coffee just right there at the edge. I'd wager to bet that this is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of that 300 mark. I'm gonna check it. I'm just gonna use this. Set that to 0, we're gonna tare it. There we go. Okay, we are sitting at 284 grams, so we're pretty close. We probably could have got a little bit more water in there, but I think the taste of it is spectacular. I'm excited to take this camping. This is gonna greatly improve my coffee setup. I can finally ditch the Nescafe instant coffee that tastes like urine sometimes and smells like it. Ah, that's good. All right, that is it for this video. I'm gonna go enjoy this cup of coffee and get to work for the rest of the day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next Field Diaries review.